Good morning, everyone. I've been going over Facebook and YouTube, like I do. And I was actually talking about this with my father the other day about technology and how Trump could have got in all the fake news. Fake news? Like fake news? Is that the term for it? As if it's new. But that's kind of my observation this morning. Is to a lot of people, it is new. And what I was pointing out to my father is what I believe we're seeing. Uh, and again, I was watching. Sorry, I was watching and reading about the guy on Facebook that didn't realize that Obamacare was the Affordable Care Act, and he was bashing Obamacare, not realizing he loved Obamacare, but under a different name, without a black man's face. So then it was okay. So about that whole issue, I think it's indicative of what's happening with technology and information and the fake news and the alt-right and the huge uprising, the supposed uprising of racism and bigotry and hatred and conflict. what I believe is happening is that within the last 5 years or so, all the most ignorant people on the planet have suddenly discovered the internet and have cell phones. And here's kind of my view, what I've seen throughout history, or what I've seen through, especially the last 10 years. When the internet was invented, created, and being developed, only the most intelligent and educated and informed people were doing it. Scientists, doctors, people, high places of government in information sectors, colleges, they were designing and using the internet to exchange information. So you didn't have, well, you might have had some false news or fake news, but it was quickly squashed because there were so many skeptics and critics, people that were skeptical, that they would squash fake news. It just didn't survive. I experienced a lot of that on YouTube when I first started 10 years ago. When YouTube first came out, I was on there, and it was the springboard for the atheist movement, the atheist community, as everybody liked to call it back then. And then shortly after that, the religious fundamentalists thought, oh, this is a great way to spread the word of Jesus. So they started posting their Bible verses and how great the Invisible Man is. And of course, at that point, atheists and skeptics had pretty much taken over. So whenever someone was against another religion that was religious themselves, or was trying to bash atheists, or was trying to push a religious agenda, the community at large at the time on YouTube just pounced on them. And there was, my favorite thing about YouTube at the time was all the debunking videos. So those were entertaining to me, and that was the majority of people were the debunkers at the time. So the religious fundamentalists quickly figured out that that wasn't going to work for them, and they had another YouTube-like website called GodTube. So they moved on. There's still some arguments. There's still some religious apologists on YouTube. It's gotten better for them as atheists and skeptics have moved on to other topics like social justice warriors, and of course Trump and the racism, and they've moved away from debunking religious videos, although there are some interesting ones coming up recently, that have come up recently. Uh, so within the last 5 years, I think we've seen that writ large of the world. Uh, Cell phones and internet service or internet connectivity have become extremely affordable. You can get a decent smartphone, not top of the line, of course, but a decent smartphone for like $50 with a pay-as-you-go plan, and you can get Wi-Fi in McDonald's. And so what I see is occurring is that the most ignorant among us have plugged in to the internet, and for the first time, they're seeing all this stuff as I did, as I'm taking it from my viewpoint, as I did when I first came on. I was watching a lot of the UFO, Bigfoot, magic, alkaline water, uh, all the ridiculous stuff, and I was watching that, and some of it I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, the pyramids was fun for a while. Uh, but luckily for me, or I'm grateful that at the time that I got on there, there were so many skeptics that I was also able, and there was video responses. Oh, please bring back video responses. I was able to go to those videos and go, ooh, yeah, I wonder aliens came down and built rocks, stacked rocks on each other, because humans can't stack rocks. It was and then you see the response videos underneath of people debunking that and saying, no, we understand exactly what happened, and here it is, and they laid it out, and it made perfect sense, and it showed. It doesn't necessarily prove that there wasn't a god or wasn't an alien that came down and stacked rocks on top of each other. But what it did show was just because you don't know doesn't mean aliens or doesn't mean God, and that and it gave other plausible and now proven techniques for doing the exact same thing, showing we didn't need the magic. So I appreciated coming onto the internet at the time that there was so many skeptics, or there was more skeptics than mystics on YouTube. But now the internet has become more populated, and there's more newbies uh, plugging in, like I said, plugging into the internet, and there's going to be people trying to take advantage of them, trying to make money off them. Uh, they also have their own thoughts and agendas that have not been publicly debunked. They have not searched for the opposite of what they believed. So now they're being confronted by it, and I think what we're seeing now is that confrontation that I experienced back in the early days of YouTube, but we're seeing it on a much larger scale. Uh, and I'm hopeful that going forward for the next few years, the most ignorant amongst us will quickly catch up. It's difficult to be online and be connected and have a smartphone and be exposed to information without quickly catching up to what's really going on, or at least becoming skeptical and cynical, which I think is probably the most important thing about being on the internet. Uh, I still myself will see something I agree with and be biased towards liking that or sharing that. But if it's too, even for me, if it's too good to be true, or it matches too much with what I believe, it makes me stop and go, are we sure? And I think a lot of people haven't. A lot of the lowest education level among us have not developed that skill of doubt. So my fingers crossed that going forward we survive the Trump presidency. And it's not the Trump presidency, it's the Trump cabinet that we need to survive, and the Republican majority, at least for the next 2 years. Hopefully we survive that, and the education happens fast. Good luck, everyone. Peace.